Up next, Naomi and Richie West present The Mandela Effect and an eyewitness account of future memory.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is Miles Lewis, and you are tuned into week 5 of our 6-week Streamathon series. We're trying to raise $20,000 for our annual budget so that we can continue through this crisis into the next year. We are now up to $10,467. So we're just over halfway towards our goal. Thank you, everyone, for the donations that have come in so far. And I want to get right to our guest today. We have some special guests, my good friends Naomi and Richie West, who I've known for a few years now, several years now, and really looking forward to this presentation. I'm going to let them give you more of the details on this. We got to do some interesting coordination here, and I think they've also brought a special guest as part of this presentation. So let's get right to that and bring them all on. Hey, y'all, how y'all doing?
Hi.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Hey, so to the left there is David, and then in the middle Naomi, and Richie there on the end. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Really good. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited about this presentation. It's going to be interesting to coordinate the videos and the PowerPoint, but I think I've got that pretty much all set up. I'm going to go ahead and, why is that not showing? There we go. Let's try, pardon me while I work through this, and hopefully now we've got that up on the screen there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull myself down, but I'll be controlling the slides for you, as well as those video clips that we've prepared. Richie, Naomi, just so you know, when we play those brief clips that they aren't more than a minute or two long, we will all be muted while those clips are playing, so don't worry about speaking during the clips. Of course, they're very brief anyway. So I'm going to let also my assistant take over on the slide, the positioning of everything. And David, welcome to. It's a pleasure to meet you. Let me actually go ahead and bring myself back up so I can see you again. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Welcome aboard. I really I think you've got some great friends there, and I'm glad that they were on the job to start investigating this strange thing. I guess I do actually have one. Would you say for us that you are speaking truthfully and honestly about this, and that you're not part of some stealth viral marketing campaign for the Young Sheldon TV series?
No, not at all. I'm probably like the worst person to do this, because not that I'm open-minded, but I really feel like there's some explanation for it. Like, to be honest,
an early broadcast,
right? Yeah,
or something.
Of course, you haven't heard back from Hulu or CBS. Okay, so yeah.
Well, that's all I wanted to hear, and just getting that out of the way. I'm gonna get out here, and we'll get to the presentation. Or actually, I guess I'm gonna just pull myself down, let y'all carry on, and we'll get the slides up and video as you need it. So just let us know.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'd like to introduce who we are. My name is Richie West. I have a BS in chemistry, and I got a master's in management and leadership from A&M. I work. We live in the Central Texas area, close to Copper's Cove, a little small town in the middle of nowhere. I work for the U.S. Army Operational Test Command, where we test weapon systems for the Army, and specifically, my task is in setting up instrumentation on board aircraft and ground systems, that sort of stuff, to collect data for these tests. My interests in life are I like music. I play guitar and piano and bass. Of course, I do paranormal research. It's just kind of a side hobby that kind of turned into a little something more than that, based upon some of the requests people had. So I also like electronics. I like to get into apologetics and religion. And right now I'm deep into do-it-yourself projects. So around the home, trying to get a room ready for Naomi. I'm converting a patio into a sunroom, closed-in room. So Naomi?
So I'm Naomi West, and I teach high school English juniors in Copper's Cove. And David, that's how I know David. He's also an English teacher at Copper's Cove. And I'm originally from West Virginia, and I moved here 17 years ago, married Richie, and started teaching. And I'm, some of my hobbies are investigating the paranormal, reading, writing, the normal things outside that. So,
David, you want to say anything about you?
Yeah, I'm from Copper's Cove. I teach at the high school as an English special education teacher, as Naomi said. I'm originally from Ohio. Was in the military for 10 years, in the Army and as a combat medic. And that's about it. I mean, I like to read and hang out with friends, and
And you like soccer, right?
yeah. So I'm a big Premier League fan. Yeah.
Yeah. As I am too. I kind of got converted this last year into that, going to England often. So what I'd like to do now is Naomi's principally interested in time type of things like slips, time travel, that sort of thing. She's actually written a book. She hadn't published it yet, but it's a kind of a teenage novel that deals with a time slip of a year. But anyway, I'd like to go to the next slide, if you would. And I'd like to talk some of the definitions out there that involve time. And one of the first things, I think we watched a show on, like on Sci-Fi Channel or something, where these people experienced a time slip. They were in Devonshire, and it was an actor that played on Home Alone, right? And his
Stern.
wife. Yeah.
Daniel Stern.
Yes,
Stern.
yes.
Anyway, he was explaining this. He went into a village, and it seemed like they were 100 years in the past, that sort of thing. So we kind of really got interested in that, and so I would like to talk a little bit about what time slips are. It's not in the order here in the slide, but it's just the phenomenon where somebody feels like or it could be a group of people too, and there's many of these instances that people have written about, where they feel like they've gone back 50 years or 100 years or 300 years. And you can either experience it, people have experienced it individually and corporately in one, 2 or 3 people. So that's what a time slip is. I'll let Naomi talk about what an alternative reality is.
Alternate reality, it's ever since the death of Nelson Mandela, the Mandela effect became a thing, and that's where some people thought he died in a different time than he did. And so that's how we got the name Mandela effect. But the most popular ones I tend to disregard, honestly, and those are spelling, because people just don't pay attention, to spelling very well, or we assume things like the product Febreze. Since the word breeze has 2 E's, people assume it's in the product. So I don't really pay attention to those, but there are some pretty convincing Mandela effects, like the movie that Sinbad was supposed to be in, where he played a genie. I've looked into that a lot, and that's pretty fascinating. So just
what do people remember in that movie, for example?
They remember it was not the same movie as Kazam with Shaq, and so that's something. They remember 2 specific movies, and it's pretty interesting if you look into some of that. But I find the idea of alternate realities fascinating. That's one of the main ones.
Okay. Then there's another thing everybody's heard about is deja vu, and that's where somebody feels like they've been somewhere before. I mean, it's usually right when an event happens that they feel like, God, I've been here. I've been with this person. Or I've been in this location. It's interesting because I shared with Smiles earlier this week that I've had a deja vu where I could tell you, well, I think it's a deja vu, where I could tell you point by point what was going to happen right before it happened. So, I mean, that kind of freaked me out. Don't know what it is. Don't know if my memory is that far ahead of me. I know there's some psychological explanations for deja vus, but anyway, that was kind of unusual for me, and I experienced that. And then the other thing, and I do this, and I say this because actually, I think what we're gonna let's go to time travel. Of course, that's time travel. As far as we know, we have not experienced that. The closest thing we can do to time travel today is send astronauts up, and their time clock goes slower when they go faster, according to Einstein's theory of relativity. And we experience this in instrumentation of our work, is that the satellites up in orbit, they lose seconds. On Earth, if we have a time clock, the satellites that were launched several years ago that do GPS, that sort of thing, they're like, I think 15, 18 seconds behind the clocks that are on Earth. And that's because they're going so fast. So that we know that relativity works. And that's the closest we know that we have been able to do any sort of time travel. And then there's a fifth term I'd like to introduce, and actually this is what Smiles kind of called this particular presentation, is future memory, which is remembering things that haven't taken place yet. It's a foreknowledge, kind of a prophetic sort of thing. I'm not saying that Dave's a prophet or anything, but he remembered, in this case that we're going to explore today, watching a show that had never been aired. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's go to the next slide. And I've got some links here, and we're glad to share any of our raw video that we took with anybody, because they can examine it to make sure it wasn't edited or anything like that. We tried to do things, we captured this event to hopefully timestamp it at that time when it actually occurred. The video we're going to show, I actually took my video that I took Naomi's video she took from her cell phone, and put that together so you could see from her perspective, and then I have a different perspective over the back of both David and Naomi while we're watching the show. So we have some spots. If you want to read anything of Naomi's Timeslip blog, you can see there in that first bullet. Her raw video is the second bullet. I had a hard time getting my videos uploaded, so I'm gonna have to update this later. Maybe Smiles can put a link on his site. But I have a hard time. I don't know. I may have to upgrade my YouTube account or something to get them uploaded. But the video I took, the raw video, I do have, and I'm welcome. I'll give it to anybody if they want to see it and examine it. So let's go to the next slide, and we'll just set this up. And I'll let Naomi talk about it because she was actually there.
So David, it was your birthday party, wasn't it?
I think it was my birthday party.
So we threw him a birthday party on Friday, November the 5th. And it was toward the end of the evening, and several of us were sitting around the dining room table discussing the show Young Sheldon, because we all watched that show, and we've all seen it many times, not just once. So
no, we saw it the 6th.
I think, yeah.
I mean,
because I think the 6th was my
he
actual
saw it the
birthday.
5th, and his birthday was on the 6th. Yeah.
Did I say that the 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. We were having his birthday on the 6th on Friday. And in this discussion, he brings up this episode. And as he's describing the episode of Young Sheldon at this train museum, a lot of us, we just kind of looked at each other and said, "What are you talking about, David?" And he's like, and he keeps giving more details. We said, "No, we've not even." I said, "David, that's not an episode. You must be thinking of like a Big Bang Theory where Sheldon referred to something like that." He said, "No." And he didn't know why we were so confused. So eventually my friend Chad looked it up online, and he said that episode David's describing doesn't air till next week. So my mind, I'm always looking for oddities, and I'm thinking, okay, there may be a good explanation, but just in case this is a futuristic thing he's experienced, I need to get on it now. So that evening I put it on my blog, and I said, this is a developing story, and just in case this is some sort of time thing, I want to have it documented well before the actual episode airs. So over the next few days, I asked David to give me as many details as he could remember of the show, so that we would have all that in place by the time it aired. And then I said, okay, so would you come to our house when it airs? We're going to watch it live as it airs, and you're going to pause it and tell us what happens next. And that's how we tried our best to document what we still can't explain. Somehow David had seen the whole episode. And of course, there were weird questions like, well, are you sure he didn't see a preview? I'm like, okay, I don't know of a person that sees a preview and thinks they've seen a show. David is not that person if they exist. So no, he saw the whole show, and as the video will show, he knew details that had not come out in any previews or previews of the synopsis. I did link to two synopses I found on the show before it ever aired, so that I could get all the information out there, what was already available, so that when David watched the show, it would be obvious that he had details that weren't in those original previews.
Let's go to the next slide. That we have here, just to set up a timeline. On the 5th, that's when he watched the show. I think he remembered it around watching football, and I thought it was the day before. It may have been Sunday before.
You thought you may have been watching football,
or Monday night or something.
Right, because I think like when we discussed it, like I remember, I don't remember the two teams played, but I remember like when I told us, I remember these two teams playing, and I think I watched the show before the game started or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then of course Friday was the party where he had mentioned it, and then Thursday when the show aired, and then today is what we're going to talk about. So just to give you an idea of the timeline, I'll go to the next slide. And one of the things Naomi really enjoys time slip paranormal sort of things, and understanding that this could be an event that we could document. She was pretty peaked up on trying to document this, in just in case it did occur or whatever, then we have evidence, and that.
And I did email CBS and Hulu Live, which is what you watch it through,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
I emailed both of them just to try to cover all bases and ask, did someone accidentally release this a week early? I haven't heard back from either of them.
And we don't know exactly. I don't know who we could talk to, how they actually air shows. I assume it's a live feed that they send to the local stations to send out. I don't know if they don't send film, or if they send files, or they send file access. I don't know how that happens. And if we did, maybe we could get a little bit more into maybe how it could have aired early. But to date, we can't figure out how he would have known this without it being just a future memory. So next slide. So we asked Dave to come over to watch the show, and we wanted to film the show using a couple of video sources, and of course iPhone camera on Naomi's camera. We used her phone, and then I had a Sony camcorder that I had gotten 10 years ago, and I set it up on a tripod behind them, watching the TV screen. And then we watched it that Thursday on the 12th, 7 p.m. And we were using DirecTV, and the show's on CBS. Dave sat left of Naomi, and Naomi sat right on the two chairs we have in our we have kind of a big bedroom with like a little nook there we could watch TV if we wanted to. And then occasionally, whenever David remembered something about the episode, he would stop the video because we have a Devo type thing, and mention what we were about to see. And then we started back up. Sometimes we would fast forward through the commercials. It was a commercial break. And then I also, knowing that we could possibly post-edit this video. I mean that's obvious. People say, "Oh, you just did this." What I did was I had an app on my phone. It's a GPS app that showed GPS time, current GPS time. So whenever he stopped it or started, I can't remember when I actually showed this my phone. I put it in front of the video camera so you could see this is the current GPS time. So you could see we're going in real time. And then the stopping and starting of the DirecTV did not. You could see that no time was lost. If you compare the GPS time, you'd see that it's clicking along normally. Okay, so let's go. Let's see.
Next slide, I think.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what we thought we would do, there were several. I think there was like 22 times that David stopped the video and he would tell us something of what was coming up. And so I had those, and we just we cataloged them all, and then Smiles and Naomi pared them down to a certain group of them to go through. I don't think any of those are the ones that were on any of the trailers or anything for the show, were they?
On this list, some are.
Okay, but the one that you gave, Smile.
Yes, correct.
So so anyway, we'd like to go through those one by one as we recorded them that night. Let's see. Are you gonna do those, Smiles, or do I need to just call them out?
Yeah, here comes the first one right now.
Okay.
And we have 8 clips. We also have, in the middle of them was there were 8 clips, or excuse me, there were 9 total clips. The third clip was kind of Dave recapping his sense of how he remembered this. I could play that first and then go in order.
That would be best. I think that's kind of cool because he kind of describes. It would kind of frame everything.
Okay, I'll do that. And just a warning to listeners: some of the commercials are playing in the background, so it might be a little loud. But bear with us. This is, I think, very, very interesting. Thank you.
Okay, on a commercial break.
Young Sheldon.
Okay. Now, as we recap, you dreamt this last week, and you're calling shot for shot as we're playing it.
No, he didn't say he dreamed it. He said he's watched it.
He's watched it before, so it's like a time, not a dream. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
Like, I don't remember being in a dream state or anything like that, or like having like a deja vu moment or like.
Well, anyone that has had a deja vu knows it's a very quick, momentary thing that goes away, not an entire TV episode.
But this is like you live this experience. It's in your mind that way. Like, yeah, I watched it last week, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I
That's
love.
why, like, when what was it, Friday that we all got together?
Yeah, you were
and,
describing it.
Right, and you guys all looked at me like, what are you talking about?
Doesn't even air. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So the whole purpose of people watching this is that we knew this a week ahead of time. So we didn't know he was telling the truth or not. We believed David, but we wanted to set it up just in case if this happened, that we could document it. So that's why I'm using the GPS clock, is to show that the time is going according to sequence.
Okay, so he notices that the guy has a pin on his lapel that says "Ask me" or "Ask me anything."
Okay.
And then Sheldon's going to ask, "Do I get to wear a pin like that too?"
Okay. Cool.
I like your conductor's uniform.
You know what they say, dress for the job you want. Do I get an Ask Me button too?
Well, thank you for asking, and yes, you do. I'll be right back.
So should I just continue on through these directly, or would you like to preface them?
Yeah, let's do like 2 or 3 of them. And can people ask questions about it, or should we just wait?
I think we should wait to the end for the questions.
Okay.
This is a very nice builder's plate. How can you be sure it's not a replica?
So he's going to question he wants to know how much the museum owner or whatever, how much knowledge he has about the. So he's going to test his ability to answer questions.
Great question.
Thank you. I also know the answer. Do you?
Well, there's rust and soot on the back of it from when it was mounted to the engine smoke box.
Very good. This is a very nice builder's plate. How can you be sure it's not a replica?
So I think when young Sheldon comes back on,
Works from home.
I believe that somebody stops by the museum. The only reason that they are stopping by is to use the
Because
restroom.
Candace has voice.
Okay, that's good. That's.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
this.
then
If you have
I think the older brother come in and catches mom watching Roadhouse.
Okay.
And then dad takes the daughter to the pharmacy and he goes in and gets the feminine hygiene products for her. So, yeah.
75% clear skin is achieved.
All right, so we can. So that was the last of the time-stamped scenes on this slide. So going to the next one, this has the others going through the episode, and we can continue with the clips.
Okay.
This is a genuine locomotive bell from...
Okay, so he's like, this is what I talked about earlier, where he's going to talk about the exact cadence. He's going to show the cadence of how the bell is supposed to be.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Means number 701. Now there's a proper technique to make the purest sound. Most people don't know how to do that, but you're in luck because I do.
That's how many years you're going to be grounded if you don't drop it right now.
So I think eventually they're going to go where they're sitting down at a table drinking tea or something like that, and then
Start watching it.
they'll start talking about the movie and kind of bonding or connecting over Roadhouse.
Okay.
Does Dad know you like this movie? No, and it is going to stay that way. It's right over there now, too.
Okay, so Dad's gonna come up with like boxes of feminine hygiene products because he doesn't know what.
Oh, that's funny.
And then the lady behind the counter is going to basically help him narrow it down.
Okay.
Find everything you need today?
Yep, think so.
You don't know what you're doing, do you?
Don't matter.
Would you like some help?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. We need to talk.
Okay, so he's going to let Sheldon go. He's gonna basically say like, you know, can basically say when you know more than you're, how does he express it? Like, you're not giving people a chance to like enjoy the museum when you know everything about it. Then basically said like you even like corrected me in front of people and all that. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just not like good business practice or whatever.
This bell? You got it. Did you know different engineers would often...
Son, you're a sweet kid, but I don't think this is working out.
What? Why? I know everything there is to know about trains.
Well, you see now, there's the problem. People, when they come here, they want to enjoy it. They don't want to get lectured in the bathroom. And you have been correcting me in front of the visitors all morning long.
I think the son is going to suggest like why don't you ever watch it with Dad or like something to that effect.
Okay.
I think Dad would love that trend and stuff like this.
I'm sure he would. You took me to see Mad Max twice.
All right. Well, those are the clips that we excised from the greater video, and I did want to offer to post the entire video to the Anomaly Archives YouTube channel, if that would help you with that, Richie. Yeah, we can continue, and this is fascinating. I mean, I want to hear more. So.
We noticed some of the clips didn't play that he had described, but if anybody does watch the video, they do occur right after he describes those specific things, like the guy coming into the museum and needing to use the bathroom, you know, little things. I chose the details that would never have made a preview.
Oh, I thought I played the bathroom one. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We just noticed some of them where he would predict and then it wouldn't play, but it is there. You know it's there and people can see it whenever they want to watch it.
Now, the whole point of doing that GPS clock is that clock is continuous. And so when he stops the video, we could not go watch it, rewind it, and then pretend like he had just seen, they hadn't seen it, because that GPS clock is going. And you'll see that both of those videos are in sync and all the timings are correct. So that's why we did that. I hope that proves that we haven't done any editing and we hadn't watched it ahead of time. And if you watch at the end of the show, we actually changed the channels a couple times. And if you know anything about Devo on the DirecTV, it gives you information about what the time it is and et cetera, how far along you are along in the show and that sort of thing. So you'll see that it's all in sync. And at the end, we also go to another couple channels to see what else is viewing, and it shows the clock and the date and that sort of thing. So you see, it was it was spontaneous, and we didn't do any editing other than combining the two videos together, which I used Corel Draw. It was on sale, and I couldn't get it synced with my old system. I have a newer higher res stuff, so I went and bought that to put them together, and I synced them using audio and a little vision. I didn't have any high tech way of doing it other than that looks about right. So anyway, does are you gonna open up to questions? Does anybody? You guys have questions there, your tech guys?
I'm just fascinated. I guess I guess David, I'm curious. When was it in the next day's conversation at the birthday party? Was that your first inkling that something was different about your memory of this this episode?
When I started getting strange looks from all of them, like there's like, how did you see that episode when it hasn't aired yet? That's when I knew, like, okay, this is not normal, I guess to say.
And then the whole group there, Smiles, they're all avid fans, and so they talk. They have kind of a channel they talk on all day, like some app.
We always have a group
and they're
chat
always
going.
talking. So they always talk about different shows they watch and that sort of thing. So they're in sync about it. So yeah, if they hadn't seen it, they would tell them, "Hey, hush!" If it had aired, and they hadn't seen it before, they say, "Don't say anything until I see it." So you can see that they're all abreast of the episodes and when they were airing.
Well, yeah, anybody who has questions can post them in the chat on our YouTube channel or the Facebook page where they're watching this, and we'd love to hear from folks if they have questions. I'm honestly, I'm not sure what to make of this. I mean, as we discussed on Wednesday, this idea of the Mandela effect and people's different memories of either events or products. I'm like you, Naomi. The product ones to me seem suspect in a way, just because there's so many of them, and that strikes me as a very strange aspect of this memory phenomenon. But this also, I'm no stranger to ideas about deja vu or precognitive dreams. I myself had a number of dreams or visions as a child that I feel were precognitive and premonitory. Nothing too significant. It wasn't like earthquakes or plane crashes or terrorist events, but they were enough to convince me that maybe our ideas about time and memory are not exactly as we suspect or taught. We do have this question. Can you elaborate on why the phenomenon is called the Mandela effect?
So my understanding of the Mandela effect is a good percentage of it almost seems evenly divided, but there's a percentage of the population that remembers Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, when in fact he died, was it 2012? I can't remember what year he died, but it was in the 2000s. And so that really threw everybody in, and that's where the name came from, the Mandela effect. So that's what they call anything where part of the population remembers something completely differently than everybody else.
And getting back to these different possible explanations, I know that since this phrase Mandela effect has become so popular, there's been speculation. There's actually a very popular viral video of a young genius child who gives his, I guess, mathematical theorem for why he thinks it's somehow related to CERN and alternate realities. But setting all that aside, I've heard, the rational skeptics' explanation for things like deja vu being that, okay, as you're experiencing this sense of I've been here before, I've seen this before, that this is some kind of trick of chemicals or brain synapses whereby that part of your brain that causes you to feel that you've experienced something before is being mistriggered. And so you're experiencing something that is in fact new that you've never experienced, but your brain is tricking you into thinking that it's something real. And I think that seems like a rational explanation, but it flies in the face of the more premonitory things, whether it be dreams or visions or some other thing that we don't quite yet know how to articulate, especially if somebody's written it down or expressed it to somebody else. And that's why I'm always very much wanting folks to try to record these kinds of things if they sense that there's something anomalous going on. And that's why I'm so happy that you took it upon yourselves to do this. David, obviously, if you're friends with Richie and Naomi, then you may already have some interest or knowledge of these strange, various paranormal subjects. But have you ever had any interest in this kind of subject matter yourself?
Not really. I mean, I believe I have an open mind, but I don't think I've got into it in the depth that Richie and Naomi have. I listen to the stuff that they talk about, but I don't really have
Explore it yourself.
Yeah, I don't really have an interest to explore it myself or anything like that.
And similar question: do you consider yourself like a science fiction fan? Since these ideas often come up in science fiction.
Like Star Wars is probably as close to science fiction. Like I'm not a big Trekkie fan. I'm not really big into superhero movies or anything like that. Like Star Wars is probably like my biggest science fiction that I watch or am interested in.
That's very interesting. So obviously you've gone public with this now. Do you? And not to cause you any concern, but sometimes people do get a little worried about speaking out about strange experiences. How do you feel about being public about this?
Like I said previously, like I'm probably the worst subject matter for this because like I'm still like in my mind trying to process. There has to be an explanation for this. Either Hulu or CBS. They haven't gotten back to Naomi, but there has to be an explanation for this.
Yeah, I mean, so Miles, we, Naomi and I also, I didn't mention it in our bios, but we have been MUFON field investigators for several years, and the whole purpose of that is to try to explain what people see. And if you can't explain it, then it's unidentified. You don't know what it is. You're not saying it's alien. You're just saying it's we can't figure it out. There's no known law or phenomena that occurs that can explain, say, an object that somebody sees in the sky. I remember one time there's a couple out of Belton said that they saw these strange lights over toward Fort Hood, and we realized, hey, that may be a Fort Hood flare that they occasionally shoot off and when they do maneuvers there, but it didn't sound like it, so we kind of left that open. And a couple weeks later, we went to a Belton game, and it was there at the Belton Stadium, and it just so happened to be the line of sight where these guys were at their house. And we looked off to the right side of the field at halftime, and there was this quadcopter with lights going red, flashing different colors. And it dawned on us that's what he saw was that quadcopter, because it was right in the direction that he said he saw it from his house. And when I got back home, I got Google Maps out and drew it out and said, okay, that's what he saw. That's interesting. The only thing I can see that would ever explain this is that it had to have been aired errantly. And like Naomi said, she looked online, and there are fans out there that when they see something unusual, that they're following Young Sheldon or Game of Thrones or whoever the fan base is, they'll mention stuff like this because it's weird. And or yeah, I've seen this. This is already, have you seen it yet? And that sort of thing. She hadn't seen that yet she hadn't seen it in the blogs before.
I haven't seen any references to it early airing.
Yeah, and as I think we joked this past Wednesday when we were chatting, in some way you may not get a response from the authorities, the actual streaming channel, because if it was an accident, somebody could be in big trouble.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, it's sometimes these kinds of things can be like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's if it did air accidentally, there had to have been a whole lot of viewers, and while not everybody's going to be like, many people may not have thought anything of it, may not have been had a group of friends that they talk about the next day or whatever, and so it just hasn't emerged yet. And so it's going to be really interesting going forward to see if anything else comes up or any other evidence comes out to help us make some kind of determination. Because without it, we're still just kind of left scratching our heads like, what happened here? And I do want to thank you, David, for being honest and also for stepping up and being public about this. As I've said in previous Saturday Streamathons over the last 2 months, I think it's really important to talk about these kinds of experiences. I know it can be difficult for folks, and because there often is this ridicule curtain, this layer of laughter, and I think we're all hopefully up for a little bit of friendly ribbing now and again, but I do want to try to reduce the stigma associated with experiences that are out of the norm, that are anomalous, and I think that's the only way that we can actually make some progress with this. And so when people do come forward and give their reports, and then thankfully when there are people like Naomi and Richie who can take up the ball and research it and run with it, I think that does everybody much good in these various fields of the anomalous, seeking truth in these strange fields of information. So I just want to thank you all for this, and I can't wait to watch the whole video all the way through. I haven't had the chance yet, but those clips I think really gave me the sense of just how bizarre this is. And the skeptical part of me says, okay, maybe. I know that there are like magicians and con artists who are able to, make predictions about people and read people and come up with seemingly impossible information from the mark or the person that they're talking to. But I certainly don't get any impression of that from your good friend David, and I know you don't either, and that's why you've trusted him. And I asked him straight up if there's any shenanigans here, and he hasn't fessed up yet. So I don't expect that to come out at any point. So, this has just been fascinating, and I really appreciate y'all stepping up to present this.
I sort of wish that we could figure it out, because I'd be more at peace, not knowing, we like to record it, but it'd be nice. Yeah, they aired it. Yeah, someone screwed up, and it'd be nice. Then we could kind of go. But now this is just hanging in our head, like, what really happened here?
Well, I mean, if it's going to be if it's truly paranormal, it's not going to be explained. So it depends, I'll be happy if it's not explained, but I'll certainly accept it if it is.
Yeah.
And David, do you feel like you have any vested interest in the outcome of looking more into this?
Yeah, I really would like to find out, the explanation or why this happened, but I'm going to leave that to Richie and Naomi. But my interest is a little piqued. I may look into this a little bit more.
Well, maybe we've set the standard here through y'all's efforts to investigate this kind of thing. Maybe it's happening a lot more frequently than people know. When Naomi came to me recently with this situation, before I'd even invited y'all onto the Streamathon, I shared with her, this video by, I guess he calls himself the Quantum Entrepreneur or something like that. I forget the guy's name, but this idea of the Mandela effect and these ideas of time slips or reality stream bifurcation points, I think it does capture people's imagination. And as we talked on Wednesday, there are so many examples beyond just these product names that really fire people's imaginations and cause them to go, wait a minute, that doesn't jive with my own memory. And so, who knows, as malleable as memory is, and we know that for a fact, who knows how many weird kinds of things are happening all the time around us, especially if one entertains even stranger ideas like simulation theory, the idea that somehow we're living in a computer simulation. Not going to go into that right now, but if there are no more questions from the audience, I guess we will bid you adieu, and folks can go to your websites. I've got those up here, timeslipaccounts.blogspot.com, and the old information on the Chupacabra's research that y'all did is at texasbluedogs.blogspot.com, including the video I played earlier. Finally got to play that video, and we really appreciate all the effort that you've put into documenting this very strange experience. And David, again, thank you so much for stepping up and working with our good friends Richie and Naomi.
Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you. Smiles.
All right, we'll be in touch soon. Y'all take care.
All right.
Good luck on your fundraising.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, folks, that is Richie and Naomi on this fascinating experience of their good friend David, and we are looking forward to maybe finding out some details about this in the near future. We'll just have to wait and see. And if anybody out there knows anything more about this, we certainly would love to learn more from you. So Well, our next presentation is coming up, I believe, at 3:30, and that's going to be an update on the Stanton T. Friedman UFO archives in New Brunswick, Canada. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, I think we'll go to some other fun material that I've been sitting on for a while. And how about this? So some folks who follow me know I have an interest in what's come to be called synchromysticism, and there's a lot of different angles to this approach to Fortean anomalous strange phenomena. Without going into too much detail, there is also a sub-branch of it that has to do with people syncing audio and video and looking for interesting synchronicities. You may think first of efforts to play famous albums like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon to the famous Wizard of Oz, or other weird attempts to sync up sound and video. Well, I've occasionally done some experiments like that myself, and usually don't get anything too interesting in terms of synchronistic, meaningful coincidences. But hey, sometimes it ends up being fun anyway. And these are a couple of music videos that are synced up with a kind of famous movie. And I posted these online years ago. First and foremost, this first one I'm going to play is a song that I do not know the origins of. So if anybody out there has any information on this song, I would really appreciate it. But I think you'll recognize the video. So stay right there. We'll be right back.